Hello, I'm Dorian Manticore. I am the founder of the Sovereigns of the Golden Path, which is an emerging queer magical tradition. The SGP, or the Sun Cult as it's affectionately known, is very heavily rooted in chaos magic, so I wanted to talk a little bit today about what chaos magic is. Now, as it's the ultimate postmodern religion, it's rather difficult to nail down, and it's a little bit like nailing jelly to a wall. The more people you ask about it, the more different answers you're going to get, and trying to define chaos magic is a surefire way to set yourself up for a lot of arguments. So this is my personal interpretation of what chaos magic is and how it operates for me. When faced with a lot of jargon and strange unfamiliar language, it can seem rather inaccessible at first. As Fats Waller said on Jazz, if you've got to ask, you ain't got it. But once you break the surface, it is actually very beginner-friendly practice. Chaos magic has its origins in modern occultists, in comic book creators, in science fiction authors, beat poets, artists, and other philosophers and modern creative-minded people. It's heavily influenced by ceremonial magic, Thelema, Taoism, postmodern skepticism, nihilism, existentialism, and a bunch of other very high-minded philosophies. Now, it's open to anyone, and it has no central governing body. It has no set special texts. It's very open source in that regards. It's ideal for people who work alone, but might enjoy occasional group work. There are some chaos magic organisations around the world, but there's none in Australia that I'm aware of that make themselves publicly known. Practitioners of chaos magic can be atheists or agnostic. Belief in any kind of higher power or magic or deities or gods isn't a prerequisite at all. Now, it's very collaborative, and it encourages the expansion and building upon of existing knowledge. So it's great to share and read and remix and build upon what other people have published and put out there for people to learn and grow from. Now, as it is a rather open source practice, that makes it quite perfect for queers, anarchists, political subversives, outsiders, outcasts, activists, hackers, edgewalkers, anyone who has a tumultuous relationship with the dominant culture, or feels themselves put outside of it, or wants to critique it, or tear it down, or respond. So, in that way, it is encouraged to have quite the sense of gallows humor in chaos magic, an ability not to take things too seriously, and to have a little bit of a laugh at yourself, and understand that if all the world is a stage, it's a comedic tragedy. So it is although it is a very beginner-friendly practice, it's really not for everybody. Now, what is chaos magic actually about? Well, I feel that the core tenet is that belief itself is a tool. It's a very pragmatic process. It's very results and goals orientated, and the enemy is dogma. One does not want to become too mentally inflexible. It's about fostering a sense of ability to adapt and fully commit to anything that one is engaging with in the present moment. So if it works, you use it. This has given chaos magic a sense of paradigmal piracy. It takes pieces from other practices, and you can insert them into your own. Of course, with this in mind, it's very important to make sure that one is mindful and respectful of the boundaries of closed traditions, and of not appropriating things that it would be insensitive to take. Some people with chaos magic prefer to keep the bounds of what they are practicing fairly clear. So for one ritual they might use Thelema, for another they might use a form of Wicca. But I personally feel like chaos magic is more syncretic than eclectic paganism, and I find it more useful to blend and remix and create something new and entirely unique. If chaos magic were to have a motto, that would be "Nothing is true, everything is permitted." If that sounds familiar, it's because it is the refrain from the well-known video game series Assassin's Creed. The phrase originated in a novel by the Slovenian author Vladimir Bartol named Element. If nothing is true, then we must make our own truth, which is a very Taoist paradox. So chaos magic is, at least in part, about walking your edges and questioning everything that you know and you take for granted. It should challenge your core values and your morals and other social concepts such as money, gender, and power structures. One of the offshoots of chaos magic, stemming from its principle that belief itself is a tool, is pop culture magic. Now, pop culture magic is rooted in chaos magic, but it is slowly evolving to be its own context. Two series that I work with personally in a pop culture paradigm are the Dishonored series and the Silent Hill series of video games. But any pop culture property could be available for use within one's own personal practices. Chaos magic and pop culture magic rely somewhat on concepts of the Jungian collective unconscious, and that there is a place that all of these stories are coming from, and a deep internal well of human experience that can be drawn from. Because of this, many people who practice chaos magic are involved in multiple traditions, and some of those traditions even have clashing belief systems. It allows oneself to be creative and experimental, and a big part of chaos magic is allowing it to be experiential. A person should throw themselves into their magical practice and actually really feel it for themselves. So a fairly important part of chaos magic is achieving altered states, and there's various different methods for achieving this depending on what works well for the individual and what is safe and healthy for them to do. Those can involve techniques that are widely used in other practices as well, such as drumming or breathing exercises or meditation. There are a couple of things that chaos magicians are well known for pioneering within a Western magical context, and one of those is the creation of egregores, and servitors, which are like thought form creatures that are created from one's own will, and they're kind of like computer programs that are pushed out into the world in order to carry out a magical intention. Another of those is sigil magic, which are often seen as those little magical squiggles, although they can take on other formats as well. Sigil work is a method for creating a intention and having your subconscious mind enacted upon the universe. Creating it into a abstracted form is a way of stopping your higher brain functions and your thoughts and other concerns from sabotaging your spell. Due to its nature as a system that borrows or outright steals from other traditions, many people who practice chaos magic don't do so exclusively. They have other paths and communities that they work in. I myself personally am involved in Melbourne's Reclaiming Witchcraft community. I also practice various forms of folk necromancy. I'm an animist, and I'm interested in hedge witchery and traditional witchcraft. Now, the internet is a fantastic resource for finding out more information about chaos magic. Because of its DIY open source nature, there's quite a lot of resources out there available to beginner seekers, and that are published online quite freely. There are a lot of internet forums. And I highly encourage people to get out there and actually to read and also practice, and to make sure that you practice actual magic just as much as you read about it, and talk to people and find communities, and engage with them. I understand that in the beginning it can be rather difficult to overcome a sense of shyness about talking about your magical practices, because you might be hesitant to talk about them because you might feel like it's all made up and it's all in your head, or you might feel really self-conscious about sharing your experiences, and a lot of anxieties about possibly maybe I'm doing it wrong and things like that. But I also do encourage people to be mindful of how private they should be when sharing things. So you do want to keep in mind that a lot of your magical practices are very personal experiences, and be sure to set good and healthy boundaries about what it is appropriate to share with other people. Thank you very much for watching my first video. If you did enjoy it, please do like and subscribe, or leave a comment. I'll leave some links below to some resources that I would recommend if you are interested in learning more about chaos magic. And in the future, I hope to have a regular series of videos about the Sovereigns of the Golden Path and our practices. And I would like to see you then. Thank you.